Welcome to For the Fans. We are back live to recap episode 3 of Survivor 41. We have Stan here every week joining us today because Kylie couldn't make it. Robbie and Jack from the Circle is our guest star tonight. So, Jack, tell us kind of what you've been up to since the Circle and kind of how you've been.
Guys, what's up? Thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, I'm Stan. Thanks for bringing me on. Stan and I go way back to before the Circle. Since the Circle, I'm still a college student, but spent the summer in Los Angeles, which was phenomenal. I had a great time out there. But honestly, what got me into the Circle was Survivor. I've been a diehard fan since I first saw it when I was like 14, which really wasn't that long ago. But since then, I've seen like every season, some I've seen like 4 times over. So I'm super excited about this season. A friend of mine is actually on this season, so that makes it even better. I'm just happy to be here and talk about it with you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have the insider scoop. We know all about the Xander Jack alliance, so you might be able to give us a little insight on that character, because I think he really had a shining moment tonight. I don't know. I don't really agree with some of the decisions he's made in the past, but maybe you can shine a little more light into what he was thinking when he made those moves. Stan, Robbie, what do you think of tonight's episode?
Go for it, Robbie. Well, first of all, I would like to say, feel better, Kylie. I had to medevac you from tonight's show. I had to pull the Dr. Stan and recommend our special guest, Robbie, to kind of hop on instead of Kylie. But Kylie, in her words, Frank, you owe me some money. And we'll get to that later. I'll say it for you live.
Yes, out of all the episodes that she could not attend, I'm glad it was this one, because she loves talking shit about Brad, and she's probably living it up right now in her bed. So I'm glad it probably lifted her spirits, though, because she has been feeling bad. Hopefully she'll be feeling better next week and can join us again. We can vote out Robbie.
Yeah, I'm not happy that she's not feeling well, but I am happy that I am here. So I guess there is that. I don't know, silver lining to everything, I suppose. But no, I thought today's episode was great. I was worried what was going to come. I guess a little anxious when we saw the teaser at the end of the last episode of whatever this hut was. I didn't know if people were going to be stranded in the hut or what the plan was, what the big twist was. But I'm sure we'll get to that. I enjoyed how they played that out.
Jack, how have you been liking this season so far? I know we've had a lot of time off since we last saw season 40. So we had a lot of anxiety with all the changes. What are your thoughts on those changes?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, it's great to have Survivor back, as I'm sure we all feel. It's been such a long break. And I think Stan and I talked about this. It's a great way to get through like Monday and Tuesday of the work week. But honestly, even barring the fact that I know some of the cast members, I've really thought this season's been really solid so far. I think the biggest change has been the fact that the twists feel a lot more meaningful right now. They're not overpowered. They come with some strategic dilemmas, and they also offer insight into what the character's strategic thinking is, and also provide some character moments, whether that's people making decisions at a summit or deciding whether to make risks for a potential advantage, instead of it being like, oh, I've picked up the raft and now there's a super idol under there, and it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. So you guys ready to jump into this episode?
Yeah,
so we start off.
I think I agree with the point. I'm going to forget it later, but I think that the advantages this seasons are not overpowered. They're not overpowered, and they come at a disadvantage. And there's some people like, I don't even want an advantage.
Some of them might be underpowered, which is
some of them are like, I would. First of all, like I had a take last week on how Zan his advantage, but like that's such a detrimental advantage because you don't really get to play that sneaky game that you should. Your advantage is on the open, like, which is a different take on it, which could potentially hurt or help his game if he plays it well.
Yeah,
I think one of the things that we're seeing this season, which you guys are touching on perfectly, is the fact that up until this point, every time there's an advantage, it is what it is. It's an advantage. There's no thought process. And what we enjoy as fans is people's thought processes and how people think differently and how that works into their decision-making process in general. And you start to see, okay, who's willing to take risks, who's not. And you can use that to kind of update your opinion on what you think somebody might do in the future should an opportunity arise. Who might flip, who might not. every decision we get to see somebody make is a piece of information that we can incorporate into our opinion of them. And I love seeing this now as people become more educated, as the players become more educated on the fact that these advantages might be disadvantages. We're going to get to see a lot more of their personalities come out on who's on the show just to say, frig it, I'm taking every advantage I can. I don't care what the risk is. Let's make it a show. And who is there to play it safe. And we're going to see that a lot more clearly now with these advantages or disadvantages around.
Yeah, and the new advantage that was introduced tonight at the beginning of this episode was another Beware advantage, where you have to get in a boat, leave your camp, and go somewhere. So we first see Tiffany. Tiffany wakes up in the morning. She didn't want to wake up that morning. She finds this Beware advantage, but she's with her two allies. So she has to spill the beans on all that. What are your thoughts on this new advantage? Are you guys jumping in the boat?
Yeah, I mean, I for one, so obviously you get the Beware advantage. You don't know what's inside. So you have to analyze that sort of risk reward. I think the only people really in the best position to do that are the Yellow tribe, because they know about Xander's Beware advantage. And then maybe Deshaun over on the Blue tribe, just because he was informed about what that kind of entails. Although I don't even know if he knew it was like a Beware thing. He might have just thought, oh, it's an advantage that Xander found. So I think if you know the kind of the elements of the Beware advantage, you kind of have to consider your spot and your tribe and in the game personally and think whether you're in a spot where you want to risk it. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to obviously the option of getting in a boat, I think that's a pretty safe call, especially once you realize or you lose your vote, you just have to go for it.
Yeah.
And then of course the situation that they end up facing at the hut on the other island, whatever, is definitely interesting. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to take this opportunity to surprise you guys, and I want the three of you. You got a piece of paper.
Oh my god! Can you assign us each one of the three people so we can?
We have Brad, Sydney, and Tiffany. So who wants to be Brad?
Always. Not always.
Frank needs to be Brad. Who wants to be Sydney and who wants to be Tiffany?
I'll be Sydney.
All right, I'll be Tiffany.
You gotta represent the Yasa Yellow.
So are we playing this at right as in we're in the moment?
You guys are at the hut.
Okay.
You guys have a decision to make. Would you choose a tarp or would you choose a steal a vote?
You want us to write this down?
Absolutely, and you're not going to tell each other. So if all of you guys choose tarp, then you get a tarp for your tribe.
But we're doing it from the mind of our person, right?
Yeah. I mean, what do you guys want to do?
I'm definitely doing tarp. I don't care that you said not to say it.
Yeah, can we strategize about this? I don't know.
And then if it's
so, explain it for us.
So
if people watching the episode didn't pick up what was happening.
If you guys are in an Ord or a live game or Survivor or the Circle or whatever, probably not the Circle, they won't do this challenge. But on Survivor, what would you do with two random strangers? I mean, for you, Jack, kind of strangers. These two know each other, and they'd probably be mind fucking each other right now. But would you, if you all steal a vote, you all get your steal a vote. But if you split, no, if
you all steal a vote, you all lose your vote.
Oh, sorry. If everyone picks steal a vote, you all lose your vote. And if it's split, the people that pick tarp don't get a tarp, and the people that choose steal a vote gets a steal a vote, right? Or an extra vote. It's a steal a vote.
Yeah, if it's a split decision, the steal a vote people get it. If they all pick tarp, they all get it. If they all pick steal a vote, nobody gets a vote.
Nobody gets it. Yes.
Y'all lose your vote. I think.
I don't know why I wrote stole a vote twice. So you lose your vote. All right. So you guys can strategize. What do you guys want to do? We'll put a minute on.
So I'm Sydney.
Yeah, you're Sydney. Crazy Sydney.
Oh, you're Sydney. So
yeah. I mean, I would straight up say that I'm in a good spot, so I'm taking a tarp. I don't need power. So
yeah, Sydney. I think we should just steal and make Tiff take the tarp.
Guys,
it's probably going to be a challenge. Tribal again. I mean, she's going to need that.
Matt, I love where your head's at. Except Sydney, I appreciate that if you take the tarp, I can steal the vote, and if I steal a vote, I'm going to give you guys some information. Xander has an idol that is currently dead, and he can't vote until someone else activates. So if you guys let me steal a vote, I can make sure that I steal someone's vote and we'll make it to the next phase of the game where I can work with you guys.
Who else knows that information?
Our whole tribe knows the information. So there's only 3 votes on the tribe right now. So if I get a steal a vote, I can make sure I'm safe and I can come work with you guys if we merge or swap. So if you take the tarp, then I can steal a vote and I'll be able to help you guys later in the game.
I'm from Wyoming, and that was way too complex for me. I'm a simple guy, Sydney. I'm going to go steal. I'm a straightforward, straight shooter. That's what I'm doing. You guys can work them out amongst yourselves.
But Sydney, you're going to take a tarp?
100%. Yeah. No, I think it's an easy decision for me.
Thank you so much. Girl power. Sydney and Tiffany forever.
I'm going to tell everyone you guys are in alliance.
We're in alliance too now, though.
All right. So now you guys write your votes on paper. And we do
I'll write it on napkin because
whatever.
Yeah.
I had a paper plate behind me, so
we'll write it on whatever.
Still a cellulose product.
So Sydney's keep taking. Well, I'll just let it play out.
Yeah.
That's actually. Oh, we'll talk about it after.
All right, my napkin is ready.
All right. Everyone's ready? In 3, 2, 1, reveal.
Robbie's fucking us, I think. I knew it! I knew he was going to fuck us!
I'm surprised, but I don't think it makes any sense to do that.
So being Sydney, I just came from a moment at my beach where everybody on my tribe was bonding over me giving them advice about how Nasir is coming after certain folks. I feel very comfortable. I don't need a vote right now. I know the next tribal Nasir is going home.
Why does it benefit you to fuck over 2 other people? Because now later in the game, we know that you just lied to us.
But you don't know that I fucked you over.
Yes, we do. Because if we both
somebody fucked you over.
But if we both
you know, I don't know now.
Well, you do know because if everyone stole a vote, if there's one person that picked harp, the steal a votes get the vote. But if you steal a vote and you don't get the vote,
yeah, so everyone would know.
All of you guys,
yeah,
everyone would know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be pissed.
He would.
That's just like you trying to fuck us over. Which I don't think makes sense. Maybe Sydney would do that though. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm being Sydney here, okay? I'm being Sydney. I'm looking at it like if I want to fuck Tiffany over, now's an opportunity I can.
Why would you fuck?
Why would you want to do that when
that's not a good
idea? I'm on the
idea.
show. I want to have fun, and I'm in a good spot. I think
that's not how you play.
You can use that opportunity to build an alliance.
Yeah, you can build an alliance.
Also, like Tiffany, I feel like should have worked a little harder to steal a vote because if she does steal a vote, she controls the tribe.
To be fair, I also don't necessarily trust the fact that Why So Sidious up there is telling me straight up he's stealing a vote. So
I'm a straight shooter. I'm Brad.
Yeah. When you say I'm a straight shooter, I'm like, he's not doing that.
No, but like to be fair, I think that's I in that situation. So we go back to episode 1, and the person that I would actually think that I would be like is more like Danny. Danny was a straight shooter. He told JD and Xander to take your vote. I'll take the protect my vote. And
I'll be honest with you guys. The reason why I did that, the reason why I did it was when I was watching the show, and I actually wrote a note down when I was watching it because I knew I was going to come on here today. And I was like, listen, if I was Sydney there, you really could have that was a power opportunity to
randomly fuck over 2 people.
No, I think she should have forced Tiffany into keeping her vote because Tiffany's going to keep her vote because she's so fucked if she doesn't get it. She planted the seed. You're going to get it. I had fun here saying, okay, I'm going to do tarp. I had it written down before we even talked. I was just going to have fun with it. But I think that she should have stole a vote because Tiffany needs her vote. She needs her vote. Like there's no fucking way she's going to risk it.
Because like the thing is, I think if you have 18, one of my friends, I think over the years, they cast 18 eclectic people or whoever, like the most interesting people. I think that regardless of what Tiffany's perceived position in yellow would be, I think I would use that time to bond with Tiffany because Tiffany if I was in Sydney's position, I mean, you guys know how I play. If I was in Sydney's position, I would take that opportunity to build a trust with the other 2 and kind of pull a Danny type thing. And I'll take my tarp. And I'll get nothing, and it's okay. But it's too early in the game to make moves, guys. You're envying yourself.
Yeah, I think here's the other thing though too. Like I stand by what I said with the fact that I think if envying yourself is a good point because I mentioned that before too. But if you know that someone's going to be taking the tarp, you either all take the tarp or you get your extra vote.
I think you just try to force someone into taking the tarp, whether that's
right.
You want to do too directly, but I think if you and another person can say we're going to steal, then it kind of makes the last person take the tarp.
Yeah.
If you're Brad, though, it's obviously got to be a steal because you don't have a vote unless this idol gets activated. Because before he gets on the boat, we see him find the idol. He tells Sean about it. He finds that he tells her about the second beware advantage that he found. So
Jack,
in Brad's position, I think stealing is just.
I think Brad. I think Brad and Sydney should both have stole because I can't see Jack in your position being Tiffany here, how you would risk.
But two things. Well, so one, if I'm Brad, even when he steals the vote, he still can't use it. So if I'm Brad, I almost go to the other two and say like, I'm going to take the tarp and you guys could take the steal and I build some relationship. For Tiffany, obviously it's a little bit riskier, but it's because Xander can't vote. If Tiffany gets the steal a vote, she can steal Evie or Rihanna's vote and she can take out literally whoever she wants. So that's obviously it's a risky move, but it's a very powerful.
That's a 50-50 on I'm either.
But if someone else is going to take the tarp like you did, then I think you have to go for it. And in episode 6, he's going to take the tarp.
Yeah, no, I think the way I executed that in jest would be a mistake. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. But
that was a weird take.
Yeah, I just
that was a weird move. I mean, you absolutely do, which brings you to the point where Survivor is unpredictable. Like you don't know who. Like you just meet these people, and it's at night. You don't have that trek up. Like when Evie and Deshaun were walking up, and like the three boys in episode 1, you'd get to know someone in 2 hours. Like, in 2 hours walking up the hill. I don't care what you say about people. Like you're gonna know someone.
Yeah.
Did you guys prefer the boat ride, the secret boat ride, or the summit? I personally enjoyed the secret boat ride because it led to a beautiful moment, like Brad building I've done this when I was a kid, building a fake person in bed. Loved it.
And I will say to go to Robbie real quick.
Yep.
Like Tiffany probably does feel like she really needs her vote, but at the end of the day, like I think she could realize that Liana and Evie are the swing duo. So whether she has her vote or not, they're going to decide who goes home regardless. So it would almost really make sense to risk it, and that way you can ensure your safety.
I agree.
That's a good point. I suppose it depends how much you want to risk at this point in the game, and maybe Tiffany obviously.
It's not looking like there's going to be a swap or a dissolve.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
like maybe they'll just
edit
go to the leaked Orange Merge tribe.
Yeah, I mean, I thought if there was going to be a swap, it would be next week, but there was nothing in the teaser.
So I don't know. It's
the amount of times it's shown Xander saying at tribal and at challenges or wherever he is saying, I don't know if it doesn't look like there could be. Maybe there's no swap. He said it at least 3 or 4 times so far this season.
Really? Has he? I didn't know.
Yeah, and it's made the edit that many times. And I don't know if it's just to screw with us to make us think that it's not coming, because it's just as easy to do that. But
I think there's a chance with all the ways that they're meeting each other and intermingling tribes now. I think there's a really good chance. I said it, I think, in last week's episode that I don't think there's going to be a swap. I think we're going to see probably an earlier merge, and then there's going to be extra votes and all that craziness in there to mix it up.
So there's a couple of key things. Like I know we did the big thing, but I wrote a few things down here that are really interesting that made the cut. In Yasa, Liana, like the first confessional, like crying over like voting out a threat, and could this be $1 million mistake? Like it was hard. She wants to flip the narrative. Like and Liana's someone who we haven't really seen all season. The first 2 episodes, she was kind of in the back burner with when Yasa went to 2 tribals, and Evie was in the forefront of the edit. Xander was an integral part of the edit. Voce was there. But Liana, although she's in the majority, she's not really edited that much. So what do we think of her first big moment, I guess? Here?
Yeah, we kind of jumped over all that and got it straight to the new shiny thing.
I like the little moments because that spins my edgic mind.
It didn't make any sense to me, I'll be honest. Of course, like last week I was a little baffled when Voce went home, but I actually don't mind the move because if I'm Liana, again, I feel like if Voce goes home, Evie and I are the core of the tribe. We keep Xander over Voce, which offers us challenge strength, and he also can't vote probably for the foreseeable future because by the next time you go to tribal, it's pretty unlikely that both blue and green have found their advantage. So Xander's an asset to your challenge, he's an asset to your camp, and he can't vote. So if you want to get him out next tribal, you could do that really easily. And then Tiffany is somebody who's pretty much blindly loyal to you, weaker than you, and you can really use her to your advantage. So it might not really make sense to take out Tiffany. So taking out kind of the middle ground in Voce kind of makes sense if I'm in Liana's shoes. And I get the desire to make a big move, but it's just like Stan was saying, it's so early in the game. I think you need to like maximize your trust like with all the people in the game. So maybe she doesn't trust Xander that much, but it also doesn't seem like she trusts Voce that much. So why not keep an asset who can't vote over someone who could potentially create some paranoia with Tiffany and maybe make it a tie, whatever. So it didn't make, especially I can understand being frustrated by not going for the big move, but it doesn't make sense why you're crying. Like it's final 15. You have 13 votes to make moves.
And I wanted to bring something up, Jack. You were talking about not making big moves till we get far. Because before you got on, I was telling Frank and Robbie, and I'm sure some of our viewers appreciate this, that we played an org together, a 60-person org hosted by Clark Wilcox.
Oh, yeah.
And we went like pretty deep, but then you lost Tony because Tony was your partner, Realfoot 8 Tony. And then I had the legendary Pete Morgan as mine. And it happened that in like the final 30-something, right, Jack? Like Pete got switched to your tribe and Tony got switched to my tribe. And both Pete and Tony left, and we met at the merge, and we tried to get to the end, but we got like 6th and 7th or something like that, right?
Did you cry in that game, Stan?
Huh?
Did you cry in that game?
I don't know. Did you cry in that game?
That game was that game was like a year of my life, so probably some game
it was quarantine, so we were all staying at home, and there was a 3-month org.
Oh my god!
It was a 3-month org.
To me, I love big moves, but for me, if I'm in Liana's shoes or if I'm in the game, up until the merge, I'm playing it pretty safe. Like I just want to build as many connections as I can and get rid of the people that I don't feel close with. So to the fact that she was so upset about not taking out Xander just didn't really make sense to me, and it also just was kind of a lot to be upset about that.
Was she closer with Voce in that tribe? It seemed like it because I know Evie was trying to convince. And he's like, when they were trying to convince Liana, she's really giving a lot of Voce pushback, suggesting that Voce and Liana were closer than the edit made it appear.
Yeah, maybe. I really don't know.
I mean, it was me. I would have been crying because I knew that I had to go to another immunity challenge with Tiffany. That's why.
Yeah, when we did the retrospective, one of the things that I know for Voce last week, one of the things that I mentioned that I was curious about was if Liana. Her body language almost felt like she was getting frustrated with being pushed around by Tiffany and kind of being assumed that she was doing whatever Evie was saying. And Tiffany was talking over Liana. Every time Liana was trying to say something, Tiffany was just hammering her with paranoia. And I was saying last week, I was hoping that Liana and Xander would find their way together because of the fact that, it looked like Liana was starting to get kind of walked on by the other,
but it's interesting.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's really interesting because to echo what your point is, I think she has kind of more of like an underdog kind of role. I think like Liana's, I don't think she's a winner pick type contender, edgic type thing, but I think she's going to be a bigger character as the game goes on. I don't think she's going to go home anytime soon in yellow. I think if there's going to be a swap, she's going to integrate, but it's going to be interesting. I think another point, I wanted to move on to the next Yuwa tribe with JD being
Sonic Ninja.
With bringing up all the
Hedgehog,
ninjas
man.
and whatever, and he's talking too much and leaving Brad at camp, finding the Beware advantage. But Brad knew he was kind of on the outs, which really was a little foreshadowing to what was kind of going on. So what do you guys think about that?
JD looks like the Hot Mess Express. He's super young. And he's in a candy shop, and he's just grabbing everything, shoving it in his mouth. he's just so overwhelmed with living his dream, I think, that he's caught up in the moment and he can't pump the brakes. He just can't.
It's funny. Like a moment ago, we played a game and just for fun, I lied and the logic didn't make sense. It was kind of similar to kind of what he's doing right now, is just kind of be a goof because we're here and we're having fun. Where the actual logic, when you talk it out, as I admitted, wasn't there. I think the same thing is happening with JD with a lot of this stuff, where he's doing a lot of anecdotes, a lot of analogies, a lot of stories, a lot of funny look at me stuff. It's almost like it's almost like he's picturing himself on the show. And he's like, okay, if I talk about crystals at Tribal Council, it's definitely making the cut. If I talk about Sonic and I do a bunch of impressions, it's definitely making the cut. And maybe that's just this guy. Maybe he's just always throwing anecdotes and analogies 24/7, but he feels like he's always on.
I've heard from other players that is the feeling that he gave, where he wants to get extra talkative, extra strategic when the cameras are facing towards you. And JD has been one of my favorite players of the season so far because he's been so entertaining, but he's certainly a hot mess. And honestly, what you guys were saying, I could sort of relate to, where on the circle, I was always thinking about like, what's going to be funny to watch? And then all of a sudden you make a mistake, you go home, you're like, shit, I just lost $1 million in JD's case, which is a lot more. It's 10 times more than 100K. So it's kind of like he's getting caught up in the dream, can't pump the brakes, and
I agree.
He's giving himself a very bad chance to win $1 million. I think as soon as he loses that $1 million, he's going to be like, fuck, maybe I should have made some better decisions.
And you kind of bring it up, like, but I know JD, he kind of thinks that his edit is he's the young guy. He's 20. I think he's 20. He's younger than Survivor. But really juxtapose JD with someone like Xander, who's his age.
Yeah.
But Xander has a complete more calming presence, more like a challenge beast, like chill, good guy. Versus
I think
JD's
Xander knows himself a little better. JD's young and he's like transformed himself into this new person that he wants to be. He's kind of got the ugly duckling story. So I think Xander's just way more confident in who he is.
Yeah.
Because he's probably been gorgeous his whole life.
Can we mention the Xander edit in this episode particularly? He didn't exist for the first 25 minutes of the show. Like even when Beware Advantages were being found, he must have been off at a confessional or something. Wasn't in the background. Wasn't like just didn't exist until they walked in for the challenge.
Yeah, and I mean this season feels very like, if you don't go to Tribal or if you're not involved in the episode's twist, like you're just not going to get a lot of screen time, which is generally understandable. Yeah, which is and Heather. It's generally understandable. As much as I love the twist for the strategic like character kind of moments they're giving, I do want a little bit more like camp life character development sort of scenes. But Xander's had so much content throughout the season that I don't think it was.
He has to. Be.
I think when you get 3 tribes, it's really hard to fit all that in. That's what I've said it before. I think we need more than an hour of time for Survivor. 2 episodes or 90 minutes. We need more.
Ideally, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and then
so speaking of are we ready to jump into the challenge? Because we're talking about the challenge, so it seems like a good segue. But Stan seems hung up on the past.
No, we were talking about. There's one more. We haven't even spoken about Luvu and Sydney versus Nasir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, because
that's a complete 180 for Nasir. Like we see last episode, Sydney's saying, we need him. We can't survive without him. And then this episode starts off after you get through the other 2 tribes to Sydney pretty much murdering his game. But
I think it's bad for Sydney though too. Like, I think it's bad for both of them, obviously. Yeah. But we see, I think in the trailer, someone describes Sydney as like impulsive and emotional. I think she is very impulsive. Like if I'm her, I gather, I'm going to take that and save it for when our tribe needs to go to Tribal Council, and then I could throw it out there and get the vote against Nasir. But if you throw it out 5 days before you go to Tribal, it's kind of a storyline that's going to run its course. Maybe they reconcile with each other, and then it could get turned on you for just. She told Nasir, I swear I'm not going to tell anybody. Next morning, she tells Danny. At some point, if I'm Nasir and Danny, maybe I come together and I'm like, okay, like obviously she's just trying to like play both sides. But of course, with Nasir too, I don't think it's smart to kind of constantly be like, all right, we need to get Danny out. We need like our strongest guy. We need to get our strongest guy out, and just throwing that around, I don't think is great either. So as far as their tribe looks, it looks like it could be one of them that goes home.
Yeah, but why even throw out a name when you're not going tribal? Like,
exactly.
And you nailed it, Jack, with the fact that information is currency, right?
Yeah.
Like information is currency, and it's not too often in life you just walk around giving money away. It should be the same thing with information in this game. Just going down to the beach and being like, hey, everybody, here's information I have. Why not keep that in your back pocket? You know where Nasir's target is. You know it's not you, right?
And plus with Nasir in case that's a direction you want to go.
Right. But, and what if a swap happens right now and you get swapped? It's Sydney and Nasir on a tribe with others. And now you got to trust Nasir not to flip and vote you out. Like,
it's not going to happen. Whereas if you just don't say anything, then that's someone who thinks he was an ally. Yeah.
Put the info in the bank, right? Put it in the bank, let it earn interest, and cash out.
It's kind of been the story of the season where so far it seems like the strongest players are the one who are getting info and keeping it. Like Evie's getting a ton of info, sharing it, I think, appropriately. Sham's getting info, keeping it to herself. Like that's how you play the game.
Right. We don't know the dynamic in Luvu, but I feel like people like Danny would be someone. I was not too hot on Danny like earlier in this preseason because I think that he's someone that, he's a jock. Everyone knows he's a big guy. He's gonna be a big threat, whatever. He's a football player, but he's a super fan and he's playing it a little differently than a lot of the athletes that have been playing before.
We don't know that.
Well, he hasn't gotten a lot of edit, but I think his edit. He had a big episode from Danny at the start, and it's the perfect time to just tone him down. That's a good winner's edit, actually. The edit usually invisible in episode 2. The winner is invisible.
Huh? It's kind of funny because the way Nasir went about doing what he's doing, you almost feel bad for Danny, right? Like you give him almost like a victim token.
But he has positive second player visibility, which I'm getting a little too critical, but positive second player visibility is if other people like talk about you in a positive light, and that's what basically Sydney did to Danny by protecting him and telling and making Nasir be the bad guy. So Danny looks like a good guy, even though we haven't heard from him. Like I think you can infer that he's central, not just socially, but he's physical. I'm not voting the biggest guy out first when I have, a tribe of 6 complete.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love Danny's game so far, but I don't dislike it. But I just think Danny's such a big guy, like just an obvious target. I don't know if he has the strategic and like the strategy and the charisma to really get that deep. Like I could see him going early merge, but I don't want to get too down the line.
He's stereotypical though, a stereotypical big guy mid merge.
Yeah, but I mean, they haven't gone to tribal
exactly,
and that's everything.
That's an advantage, guys.
Who would have thought that Abraham and Voce would be the first to go on at Oyasa, right?
It's what we said like early, like we spoke about Aaron last week when he said in the Island Idols. And if you watch the first episode, it sucks to lose. Like people get through fairly easily if you don't lose.
Well,
community challenge. First, I'm not going to spoil anything in the first episode of Live to Give, but if you lose, you immediately had to vote someone out, and it sucks. But there's people like Nasir who wouldn't have made it past episode 3. That's suddenly in episode 4 telling a story. But the people like Voce who just had back-to-back tribal councils, and the scalpel cut a different way, and he had to go home. Like
I like the pun.
Immunity is so important in Survivor, and people underestimate how
not losing though can hurt you long term.
Doesn't matter. You can't get hurt if you're not there because you got voted out early.
I know, but
everyone's saying that they should lose, but I just think I think what we're saying is it's hard to really know where Danny's at because they just haven't got a rival.
Right, but it's
exactly, and I think his tribe not losing is going to hurt Danny long run because the 2 smaller minority tribes in a merge situation are more than likely going to power up, and they're going to target Danny,
the biggest guy on
probably.
Yeah,
exactly. Or if his tribe doesn't go to tribal for a while, and then it's closer to merge and they lose,
they'll take him.
He's
out.
someone they might look at to get rid of.
Absolutely,
which bodes well for people like Erica, right? Who's on that tribe. And if they don't swap and you get swap screwed, because listen, like surprises and twists can screw anybody. But if all of a sudden that 6 makes it to merge, then people like Erica might not be the first target, considering you got all those strong guys coming from Luvu over there, right? People like Liana, who I think honestly is an underdog, because you watch Liana's performance in these challenges, that like nailing it. All the physical challenges. She gets in there, she swims, she climbs, she does whatever she's got to do, runs across the balance beam.
She claims it's Peloton.
Right? Done. And you get that into merge, that's how you win. That's how you win all those, individual immunities. So
another way not losing can hurt you is if one of those guys are in final tribal and they're up against somebody that's been playing from day one, pretty much a finals game, because you're on a tribe of 6 people. So they're also missing out on a lot of resume building opportunities, especially if they go all the way to the merge with only maybe losing 1 challenge.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think, and that's the beauty of the game, right? It's this natural selection. You survive long enough to plead your case, or you make a big of a resume that you're big of a threat and you get lopped off before. And that's the beauty of it, navigating it properly and with the right amount of balance and subtlety to get to the end and speak your case.
And I think we see that with Ricard and Shan. Where
so speaking of which, because we pan to Yua, and then we have Brad, Jeannie, pretty much cementing that they're super duper close, because this is the first time this season that we heard that they're tight. Right? It's never been said before. And
who said that? Was it Brad or Jeannie?
It was always Brad. And the only confessional we got from Jeannie was she's like, it's actually not that bad that he found it, because I want to be the one that knows about it and can be used to my benefit without me being the one, kind of having it, which really is enough for her to survive this tribal council. Again, every single round, Jeannie's name was not really brought up. She hasn't had a single vote.
She doesn't really have a say in anything either. But
she doesn't have a say. She's voted wrong twice.
Yeah.
My girl, she was like my favorite going into the season.
Now, part of me, well, I guess we'll get to this earlier when we talk about
what do you think about Jeannie,
Brad?
Jack?
What's up?
I wanted to get your take on Jeannie.
I mean, I think she's someone who is kind of just there, but people love her, it seems like, so that's fine. I mean, I could see her being, kind of like an Elaine sort of boo, where people like her so much and she's not really playing the game super hard, so she just can't, she'll make it deep because people like her, and then, all right, Jeannie, everyone likes Jeannie, like, let's get Jeannie out. That's kind of how I feel about it. And
so,
yeah.
We'll talk more about Jeannie and kind of where she sits in the tribe, I think, when we get to the tribal council part.
Yeah.
But we have Brad finding that second advantage, the beware advantage, the idol, and a light bulb clicks in his head when he's reading this clue. It's like, that's why he was talking about butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you guys think of this? Are you when you saw Brad find it, are you confident that he's going to be able to pull this mission off at the next challenge?
He had one line to remember, and he got it wrong.
Yeah, I think the fact that he got the other beware advantage first, which just says hop on a boat, and it's not scary, and then he gets this one, and it's like beware. Well, you see how fast he opens it?
Yeah.
Like literally sees it, beware, rip, opens it up, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, by the way, you can't vote anymore.
Yeah, it's tough.
Right? And
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Like, that's just throwing him for a whirlwind, because you go from like good stuff to oops.
And Brad, I love it. I love my Brad. I think he's great TV, but he ain't like the sharpest tool of the shed. Like, it wasn't that it didn't like he didn't stop and think like, dude, wait, where's my position in my tribe? Should I go? What's the consequences that could potentially happen? He just went impulsively, got it, which is traditional Survivor, dude. Like, you can't help the guy, but like, if this was season 39 and you found a package, you best believe you open that package and read what it says. It's most likely an idol, especially if the buff is saying, I don't know the idols, Like, but now it's a different Survivor.
Yeah. Sydney didn't even read it, did she? She's read it after the fact.
Yeah,
she's like,
you're right.
Like,
you're right.
And I would, we're all calling hindsight 2020, but honestly, like, if we were in the moment, you find an advantage, even if he says beware, I'd be like, well, damn, I'm opening it. And if I get the second, I'm like, I'm damn hoping it quicker too. So you can't like fault Brad for doing that. But at the same time, you have to know how to. I don't know. It's so difficult to quarterback now that we know kind of what it is.
You would have to have a very specific plan in motion. Like you would have had to have set up some crazy blindside where you're using a steal a vote and you've got all this stuff lined up to go perfectly. Then you find this beware and you're like, it's not worth screwing what I just spent 2 days setting up. I'm not touching it. I could see somebody in that case. But just waking up and seeing it, you're like, yeah.
But with that being said, so Brad had received his steal a vote, right? If he feels that good with Genie, I think you could kind of just be like, hey, Genie, I'm not gonna risk shit because if we go to tribal, I know I can steal a vote and I know that Genie and I will have the majority votes.
Why didn't you do that?
He didn't have it yet, though.
Yeah, he didn't have that steal a vote yet because he
hadn't got on
found
the boat
that,
yet.
found other, and then that night he got on the boat, I believe. Unless
he found the idol thing first or the boat thing first.
The boat.
He found the boat thing, then he found the idol, and then night came and he got on the boat.
Oh, got you. Okay.
So there would have been a way.
So he found 2 bewares in one day.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And then he goes home. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's also weird that a lot of the advantages were sitting with people that can't vote. Like Xander has 2 advantages. For a second, I thought JD was going to find, because JD has a vote. I thought he was going to get the idol. He wouldn't be able to use it. Yeah. Brad gets a steal vote and the idol and can't use either. Yeah. So it's kind of, and now that like Stan just said, Brad is the one who goes home. Now, Xander especially is in a really tough position because it basically seems like it's going to be impossible to achieve this mission
properly. Yeah. But mind you that we're in the final 14.
Yeah,
right? 4 people have gone home.
Yeah.
Xander's idol clue advantage expires at merge.
Yep.
So as long as he needs to win 1 more immunity challenge and bank on the merge being at 13, which it could possibly be,
maybe
then Xander's good.
Well, that's a lot to bank on.
Here's a question about the game.
What choice do you have?
He doesn't like if the idol's not activated by that point, does he now hold a dead idol, but he can vote again?
Yes.
Right. It doesn't just become a live idol because he made merge.
Yeah.
Right?
It just dies and he gets his vote back.
Yeah, but he has agency again.
A little inside scoop is that after Brad goes home, he gets told that because at first he had to say the phrase at every challenge. Now it's optional. It's an optional thing of whether he wants to say it or not. So, but I think basically Brad going home just kind of seals the fact that he probably won't be able to vote until the merge. Because no one else can find the thing that Brad found because Brad already found it.
So he can't. Is it not going to be rehidden in green?
Maybe.
Well, it's hard. It's hard because
what if it gets rehidden in green?
Maybe it'll get rehidden. I'm guessing the producers kind of realized like these are not getting found as easily as I thought they would. So it would kind of fuck Xander over if he had to say like the butterfly thing every time. It would just be so weird.
But the way that it's shown on the show so far, it says to activate it, these 3 phrases have to be said at the challenge at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I should have paused and read the whole sheet because I didn't hear anybody read out loud that he has to say it every challenge.
Apparently he did. So
right. So this is something that I didn't know. So this is
But I do think it's more sensible to make it like I think from the start it should have been optional because then you're kind of playing chicken. Like, do you think someone else has found it? Like, do I say it now or do I never say it and never risk anything and let someone else say it first? And then maybe there's a time where all 3 players have it and no one wants to say anything. So,
and that was a question I had for you guys coming in was if you're on Luvu and you were to find this and now you know what the phrases are, now you know who has.
But you'd still say it at that moment because your idol would get activated.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, would you use that information to know, okay, I don't want them to have idols?
No, but then you don't have a vote too. I want my vote. I'm going to say it as
how long
again. I'm going to say it twice, Robbie.
But for how long?
True, because say it happens at like the last pre-merge challenge. Maybe you eat one. You risk having a tribal with no vote just to make sure 2 other players don't have idol.
You have an idol.
You're on Lulu, Stan. You're on.
Although I guess say I am the 3rd person and I activate my idol, and they get their idols, I think you could really easily go to merge, be like, all right, guys,
With
we're
three
the
idols. We're idols. We're working together. Come on. Why not?
I think that is a really easy way to work with somebody. But I do understand what you're saying, Robbie. It's like, is it valuable to ensure nobody else gets idols?
Yeah, well, not just that, but the fact is, okay, put yourself in Xander's shoes early in the season.
If I was Xander.
He gets these advantages and then right away tells people, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Survivor 101. If you find an idol, you're getting an advantage. You don't run around and tell everybody, because all of a sudden, if their back's up against the wall, they can use that against you to build relationships, to build trust with other people. You're doing the same thing. If you say that as Luvu, you're letting 2 other people know you have an idol just as much as you, like right now, you know, they have that clue and you know the idols are dead. You know,
would have to hope that you could unify with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
If I'm on Luvu, I definitely just say nothing. I keep that idol. I lose my vote, whatever, until merge, and then I go into the merge with this.
But you don't have an idol.
No, I have a physical idol. It may not work, but you can do shit with a physical idol, and no one would know about it.
I am so.
I agree with Robbie on this one,
But
because then you're giving the 2
sabotaging
minority
yourselves.
tribes.
What if you walk the tribal without a vote and it's your turn to go? And
Yes.
you then needed your vote because you sacrificed yourself and overthought it in the immunity challenge.
But you're on Luvu,
sacrifice 2
Stan.
people for you.
You're on Luvu. Luvu
Also, I think
undefeated.
if you're on Luvu, you can walk into the challenge and
What if you lose the
like
next
you already
challenge?
win pretty easily.
Jack, I think you just nailed it. I think you walk in, you see it, you're like, okay, if we got to carry like 500 pounds worth of stuff, then I'm not saying a word because we're gonna win this.
But it is very complex, because I kind of agree with Stan. Like, if I have an opportunity right in front of my face to secure my vote and get an idol, like, it's going to be hard for me to pass that up. It does matter where it's like, say the other tribes, you get to the merge, they want to gang up on the majority tribe, Luvu, and now basically everybody in the game is going to find out you have an idol. Like,
Everybody.
Yeah. Granted, if I'm on Luvu and I take Danny's place on Luvu, I'm going to feel like if my tribe's going to get targeted, I might be one of the first targets on Luvu, because, I'm one of the more athletic guys. And you're a social player. Maybe you just secure that idol to make sure that, you get through a vote, or if everybody in the game knows you have an idol and they know that they might throw their votes on an Erica or a Heather, and that helps you get farther. Whereas if you have no idol and you think they're going to come for you anyways, then you might as well grab an idol.
And you could also just burn it at the first merge vote.
Exactly.
And guarantee your safety. The threat of the idol's gone. You say you found it at a challenge. You might as well burn it, and you're safe. You get best of both worlds a little bit, and you know where the other 2 are. But Frank mentioned something that's really interesting. Where so let's play this out a little bit. Where if you didn't say anything, you're Luvu, you found it. Now you know the other 2 people who have fake idols.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, like, the what ifs, right? What if you don't say anything, and then all of a sudden someone that like Brad, is walking around like he's got an idol and acting all tough, and it's like, it's fake. You know what I mean? Like, like now you have that one up on them, right?
Yeah, you certainly sacrifice a lot of information in order to secure your idol and your vote. So it's kind of, but I think this is a conversation that we're having kind of epitomizes why these twists, we're really enjoying them more, because if you're a player in this game, these are the dilemmas and debates that you're having with yourself, and they're so nuanced. Whereas in a typical season, the twist we're talking about is, Sarah got the legacy advantage. Like, good for her. I guess, sure. Like, there's no conversation. There's no conversation.
Yeah.
There's way more variables now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could really separate. That's kind of what can really show a great player. Because in past seasons, there's great players who just happen to find idols. Like, I think there's some sort of stat that, like, a lot of winners, a disproportionate amount of winners are people that have found idols in their season. Now the person who wins, if they've used 2 beware advantages correctly and, like, navigated the disadvantages of those and really utilize them to the best effect, then you're gonna be like, wow, that's actually a really good strategic play.
Yeah. And
we have an idol hunter here in the comments, Philip. He thinks that public knowledge idols suck. That's because he finds all the idols in every online game he plays.
Well, there you go, Stan. You're outvoted 3-2.
But so we're at the challenge. We have this. Brad has found this idol, so he has to recite his line. How do you guys think he delivered these lines? Xander, the episode before, flawless execution of his lines.
And I think
Brad's
Xander's
up.
really good again this episode too.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also with him last week. I was like, I guess next episode you're gonna have to be like, yo, I was really off my shit when I was saying that, like, I think butterflies are this, and that's exactly what he did. Brad, I don't even really remember because it didn't really make sense. Like, I just remember he said it, but I didn't know. Did you guys remember like what the context of it was?
Because broccolis are just tree.
Yeah, I never really,
Like,
I
how
never
did he
realized it.
push it
Yeah.
in?
I don't think that he said it properly, so I don't think it even would have counted if the other tribe would have said it.
Oh
Yeah.
no, he butchered it, and I was hoping that all of them were going to get said, and none of them were going to get it, and that just because Brad just couldn't say it.
Yeah.
But man, Xander nailed it. Like,
Yeah.
and like, how do you make that not sound like, "Hi, I have an advantage. I need to say this as many times as I can." Like he's kind of getting away with it a little bit.
Yeah.
This is
Too bad that
a
his
new
whole
twist.
tribe knows that that's what he's supposed to say, because that information is going to get spread immediately. And then also tidbit in the challenge is like Xander told me that he made sure that he went last in the challenge because he saw Brad was going last and he wanted to talk to Brad about it.
Yes.
Now, obviously, Brad already knows that Xander's kind of involved in this twist, but I think it was good of him to like give a nod to Brad and kind of be like, "Hey, man, like we're in this together." So I thought that was smart too.
So they had to swim across, to climb up this ladder, get on a. I think what season did we see it? There's a GIF out there. Okay.
Angelina, right? With the-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They had. Yeah, and I thought Tiff was gonna tiff this challenge, but she pulled through. And then when they get to the end, they got to dig up the bag, get the sandbags out, and landed on this. I like this challenge from start to finish. And I noticed that as well, that Xander was kind of. That's not the only challenge he was in the back, though, right? He's gone last.
I'm sure other challenges in the back just because he's like the most athletic and he wants to bring up the rear. It makes sense. But yeah, I like the challenge pretty much top to bottom. Like the sandbag toss was a new element that we haven't really seen before, which is always good. And then the rope swing is just kind of funny. Like it's kind of just funny to watch people go across that. And it was just a close challenge the whole way through, which is always exciting.
When you saw the rope, did you immediately think Yellow's going back to tribal?
Not immediately, but as soon as Tiffany stepped on the rope, I turned to Xander. I was like, if you guys lose this, it's going to be kind of the one instance I can think of where you could just pin like every loss on one person. Because even when Luzon had their whole streak, like it wasn't necessarily RealiTEA blowing every challenge. She was just a train wreck. But if Tiffany just like can't cross the balance beam, she can't cross the rope, like that's just it. But she got through it, which was solid.
Honestly, she nailed
3.5 on entry too.
3.5 on entry, yeah. It wasn't good, but it kept them in the game, obviously.
Yeah, when I saw the teaser online today, that like it was like a minute clip of what the challenge was going to be tonight. So the first thing I did was I shared that on our page and said, yep, I'm sure Yas is definitely glad they kept Tiffany for this, because in my head I'm like, this is not going to go well. But you can't walk across a balance beam. How are you going to walk across a rope? And she nailed it. I give it to her.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Stan?
I mean, I was kind of rooting for Yellow just because I kind of think that they needed a break. But it's really interesting.
I thought you were burning the buff after they kicked off the doctor.
No,
I thought you were.
no, but it's all good. I'm still Team Xander.
Yeah.
Xander stuck with the doc till he couldn't really. And I think from the last episode, they told Xander, is that do you know if Xander knew if Voce was going home at that time?
So I think Xander was actually someone who put kind of the ball in motion to get the target on Voce, from what he told me. I think he realized that there was a bit of a target on his back, and he knew Tiffany was pretty volatile. So I think he went to her and sort of said that Voce was the one throwing her name out. She switches the target to Voce. And I think despite Evie wanting to potentially make a move on him, I think he had a very good relationship with Evie, so he was able to go to her. And instead of trying to paint the target on Tiff, because I think he felt very confident that they weren't going to turn on Tiffany, he switches it over to Voce and makes a case for himself. Of course, he might have some bias in his memory, but it did seem like he had more of a
because in the episode it seems like he and Voce are like this, whereas he was very fine with Voce going home because Xander didn't have a vote, but he said he knew Voce was going to go, and he was very comfortable with that.
But you see that right right when Voce stands up, he gets his torch snuffed, and people are saying like, "Oh, that was rough." And Xander turns and goes, "Yeah, I feel so sad, or I feel so bad."
He knew it.
Like, he definitely knew it. He wasn't shocked. He wasn't blown away. He was like, "Yeah, I feel so bad."
But coming into this challenge, I exactly what he said. Those girls were not really going to turn on each other. So watching this challenge, the suspense of if Yasa loses, there's a good chance it could be Xander. That really heightens it. And then the fact that he pulls through with the bags and really does a pretty good job with that was phenomenal. Because those bags were super close. Like when Luvu won, I think part of my brain thought Luvu was like in last because I remember Xander hit a few. Brad hit a few, and I think Luvu kind of slowly got some, but that didn't really process. So it was neck and neck the whole time.
Well, and it started with Tiffany, right? And Tiffany, I think on her first throw or the second throw in the edit, I don't know what it was, nails it. And I'm like, holy smokes, Tiffany's just going to come out to be a challenge beast all of a sudden. And then we switch back. And even before that, Xander was the guy that grabbed the whole bag of coconuts, throws it on his shoulder, and it's kind of showing like I can carry us to victory. Gets it there, tears everything open, and then when Tiffany starts to get tired, Xander steps up again and says, "Let me take over again," and nails it. It was a huge episode, or at least challenge, you know.
Yeah, and then
I felt. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was
I was feeling like it was one of his shining moments, and I was just thinking to myself, man, that has to feel so fucking good because just boom. Boom, boom, winning for your tribe when you haven't got a win all season. I wish I could have been in Xander's shoes just to feel those emotions because the emotions are heightened. Jack, you spent 8 days in the woods in Reelfoot and it like rained 6 of those days. Yeah. So you know that like when you're out there in those elements, not eating, burning all those calories, bonding with your tribe because you have nothing else to do, like and your highs are so much higher.
Like Xander was. I think the more I think about it, it's not quite as bleak as Luzon was, but you sort of have Xander, who's sort of the Spencer, like feels like he's in danger, is carrying the tribe, gets a victory, very emotional because Spencer is kind of known for those emotional challenge reactions. Liana, like you said, is beasting the challenges. She's kind of at the epicenter of the tribe, sort of like Tasha. Evie is kind of also at the epicenter of the tribe with the Tasha, sort of like a Cass, a little bit. I think Evie's, one of the older people in the tribe, you could, aside from Tiffany. And then Tiffany's the hot mess, kind of like Jatia, who's just weighing down the tribe in every chapter. So it kind of all lines up.
They took out David and Garrett first, too.
Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. Like just
no parallels at all. No parallels.
For them to be able to pull that one out was definitely great. And then I was going to say, the last tribe in this challenge, obviously the Ua tribe, JD. Brad does a good job. JD is trying to like shoot like little floater layups, and I don't know if I mind the idea, but it's kind of like if it doesn't work once, bro. Like,
dude, if it was you, you'd probably lay up the first 3.
Maybe, but it's just like those guys move weird though. They'll like the weight distributes strangely, so it's definitely
all about arch. You got to get the arch on it.
And so I don't
coming straight down.
Coming in like a little underhand floater, but then after he shoots it, he's like running off like layup lines and like looping back around. It's like you just grab it, grab another, and throw it. And yeah. So it was tough to watch for sure.
When it gets to the point where Shan is literally saying it's not the NBA,
the NBA.
That's your sign.
That means you're doing a bad job.
That means you're definitely making the edit, but not for the reason you're trying.
Yeah.
You are finally wised up, and they instead of having in their shortest guy, they put in their tallest guy, Brad, who can almost just set them on the pedestals up there. And what was your guys' thought press? Why would they pull Brad out? Because from my point of view, and it might have been the edit, but it looked like Brad was bringing the tribe back to possibly win.
Did they pull Brad out? I didn't catch that. I saw Brad come in.
He did not finish.
I didn't see him.
They rotated him back out, and I'm pretty sure JD went back in. I
think you might be right. I didn't remember seeing it either, but then I remembered as Luvu was like going on to win, I remember seeing someone else shooting for green. So
I don't really know. Maybe Brad got tired. Other than that, I don't really know why they would pull him out. Because I remember he had the momentum, the music was building up, and then it cuts to Luvu, and then there's someone else shooting for green. So it's kind of like, okay, obviously their momentum kind of died.
And you know what? Brad swam last. So he, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to pick somebody who would get gassed first, the guy who just finished swimming, climbing across the ropes, swimming to the island, swimming to the island, digging up the sandbags, getting there while everybody else is already waiting, you know what I mean, to start digging. Like, I could see Brad getting gassed at that point, but man, that's hard. You think your adrenaline would carry you through, but I mean, this is day 6. So,
well, same with Xander carrying the bag after they finished digging. Like, he almost just collapsed because he was off the last swimmer. He was able to pull it back together. But it was a good challenge. It was super close.
Are you guys going to put yourself in that hero role? If you're at the end of that challenge, are you guys throwing bags? Are you confident? Are you like, put me in that role? Or are you going to step back and let someone else win it or lose it?
I mean, for me, it's like I'm a basketball player. So especially if I'm in a position like Xander's where I don't feel like the rest of my tribe's very good at it, I honestly think people are going to turn to me and say, okay, Jack, like this is probably up your alley. So I would do something like that, especially if I'm in Xander's shoes where I also think I'm at risk. I would do that. But I obviously wouldn't mind if it doesn't go. This is the sort of challenge where you could volunteer. Right. If you're not doing too hot, you could sub out real quick, and it's not like the end of the world. Whereas a puzzle is like if you volunteer, like you kind of have to crush it, or else everyone's going to be not.
And I think for me, I'm the same. I echo what Jack said. If I'm the tallest guy in my tribe, and I'm pretty tall, not as tall as Jack, but I'm like 6'2". So like I think that I would give it at least a shot because I'm probably close to the rim and just like kind of toss it up like Arnold and see if it kind of lands. Because I think
your tribe might not give you a choice.
No,
right?
but it's rotating, right? I'm like, I'll go next. But the thing is, I'm more than happy to defer to someone who's like, I've been playing cornhole since I was 5 years old, and I think I can land it. Go for it, buddy.
And if they struggle, then you hop in. But yeah, for me, like
I'll go.
If I'm in pretty much anyone's shoes there, I'm kind of the obvious thrower. So if I'm like, no, guys, like, don't make me do it, and I just look like I don't want to help,
It's not like it was a makeup competition, right?
Exactly. There's Adam, like Tiffany, like any of the other ladies, go ahead, take it over.
Right, exactly.
Any other thoughts on the challenge?
No, I think it's something. I think all the people who ended up stealing the show were the people that came in second. You know what I mean? Like for their team. And that's the perfect scenario to do it. Wait for someone to fail and then save the day. But yeah.
Sadly, Yua loses. They're headed to tribal. We get some action on the beach.
Yeah.
So we see Brad. He's targeting JD. And then who was it targeting, Brad?
Brad was going for JD. And then
JD was
overselling and underperforming. That's what someone said. And then Shan sees a little piece of parchment in JD's trousers. And Shan is pissed. This scene, I think one of my few hot takes this episode is I think Shan and JD are working a lot closer than the edit makes us think. Because the way that Shan's pissed, the way she talks about how pissed she is at JD is more like, I'm so pissed that this MFer didn't tell me. We shook together, and then they didn't make that. We told each other we're not going to take each other out. Not at all. I'm not going to take one of you. But then that but just her frustration about that with JD kind of made it. But as we see, down the line, they voted correctly twice together. And I think in the first tribal council when, remember when Shan and JD actually stepped in the back of tribal and like, who do you want to go for?
Yeah. No, I think it was definitely precarious. It wasn't good for JD at all, but for a second I thought he would go, but I never thought that he should be the one to go. Because I was from Shan's perspective, like, of course he gives her the extra vote. So to a big move survivor player, it's like, oh, let me take this person out, keep the vote. But in reality, JD is really kind of locked in with you. And your ally Ricard kind of suggests let's keep JD because he's kind of indebted to us.
Correct.
At that point, it doesn't really make sense to fight to keep Brad. But it is super impressive from Shan's perspective that the two people on the chopping block both basically consider her their number one. Like Brad comes to her with all this information.
Yes.
JD her a vote. And I do want to talk about JD giving her the vote because maybe we missed him exploring some other options. But with his extra vote, now I guess he doesn't know that Brad can't vote, but he could theoretically just go to Jeannie and say, hey, like, I have an extra vote. You voted for Ricard last tribal. The two of us can just take him out right now. And it seems like he didn't really explore that option, instead just gave away his vote, which I don't love. But I agree with Stan that I think they're very close. Obviously, his whole lie didn't work out, but especially because he had fabricated that story about keeping his vote and then he gets the extra vote. But I just think Shan and Ricard are kind of emotional players, which is fine. But to me, if I'm playing the game and I find out that my closest ally has an advantage that I didn't know about, I'm really not going to be that pissed, because when I play games, I don't really want to tell anybody about my advantages until I need to use them for our benefit.
Right.
But when I'm at Final 15, I'm not just giving away all my information. So just because someone doesn't tell me about their advantage doesn't mean that they don't trust me. It just means that they're being a smart Survivor player.
Yeah,
But if you
I'm
have
on the
two
same-
people, if you have a person here that's keeping things from you, and then a
Yep.
person over here that's telling you everything about
Good
their
point.
game,
Good point.
which one? I felt like she missed out on an opportunity to be a mafia pastor that she has claimed to be,
Well,
is
she
to
still
take his
is
vote
being-
and send him home.
I don't
She
think
is-
she could though.
Frank,
I don't
she's-
think she could. I think he gave it to her to hold on to.
No, she could keep it.
But the way that
It's hers.
no, but the way that he worded it,
You
it
have to
seemed
will it to someone.
like it seemed.
I
really
think
specific.
if she voted him out, it would be hers.
Hers,
But-
yeah. So
I-
I mean, I think so. A couple of my takes in this piece is Shan is being a mafia pastor. Like,
No,
yeah,
she played
she's
with
not-
emotion this time.
She
I
knows
think.
Brad has
She's-
an idol
she's-
that can get activated.
She's number one, killing the idol that's getting activated. The guy that told her everything about the idol.
Yeah.
She's and then number two, she has JD, who I wrote down has multiple confessionals in this whole season saying, "I'm the Malcolm, I'm the Ozzy, I love Woo," all of which became second and fourth, which is his kind of character. What
Yeah.
about a final three of Shan, Ricard, and JD, in which Shan sweeps the jury 8-1-0, like
Possibly.
with JD being the GOAT?
Right, let's not
Final
undersell
three.
Ricard. Ricard.
Also,
And if
That's a
Ricard
lot
sits
of
next
games.
to Shan,
I kind of
Ricard
just
loses.
thought about this though. Taking out Brad, Shan now knows that everyone else who has an idol waiting to be activated will not activate that idol.
can
So she's
find that.
canceling out. She's basically canceling out 3 potential idols with this move, which I think is pretty smart. And if she takes it a step farther, if she remembered, because she saw the parchment, I believe, if she remembers Brad's phrase, she could almost have that opportunity to steal his advantage indirectly. Because as long as she says well, is the idol like a physical thing, or do you
Yes,
need the
it is.
parchment? Oh, so she doesn't have that, so it wouldn't make sense for her to use the
But
phrase.
she knows it's probably rehidden.
Yeah. So, but I know what you're saying. Like, it is a mafia. It is more. It might be more of a badass move to take out JD, but at this stage in the game, I do think she has a better relationship with JD than with Brad, and I think that's what you need to operate under.
Absolutely.
Well, and I
It's
think coming into the game, like day 1 or 2 or whatever you want to call it, nobody wants to be the first boot. And when you have a guy running around telling you all of the information, that's the type of person you want to keep around, right? Like Brad, we saw that, where you have a guy early on who's telling you everything. I want you to stay because I'm so scared of not knowing information. Having somebody here who's going to give me information is valuable. But at this point, I think that there's so many votes done that having an ally who can keep a secret, as much as it sucks that it was against you, at least you know that if you and JD come up against some sort of advantage or something, he's not going to pull a Brad and walk up to somebody else and be like, well, I got to vote you out because we've got, like, now Brad became a weakness because of how volatile he was.
True.
But it's a double-edged
It is,
sword, right?
exactly,
Like,
because I was going to say, in a swap situation, Brad's the one giving you the information, but he might be someone who's immediately ingratiates himself with another tribe. Whereas I think JD, if you hit a swap, he's pretty charismatic, outgoing, and he's kind of just all over the place. That might be a shield for you as well. And I guess you could utilize that extra vote if you still want to work with him. So I don't know if there's a wrong move in this situation. I think Shan has to gather all the information that she has, which is way, way more than any of us know from watching, and just try to make the best decision. But I just think she's in such a good position in the tribe that she couldn't really do anything wrong as long as she approaches it with some finesse.
I agree. I think any way she goes, she's the center of that tribe. She's golden. Yep. I'm thinking of it from a Survivor fan point of view. Is if I'm in that position, I have to make that move, because you see it. Eric still talked about to this day. I can make JD the dumbest person to play the game in the new era. If I can have that opportunity, I have to. I
don't know if that's like, I know it would be badass, but I don't know, because then that's just retrospective thinking about his move to call him the dumbest. Like, it wasn't.
Why didn't you do that if you're tight?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like like when Sandra in Winners at War, the Sandra Denise situation.
Yes.
But was it a bad move by Sandra? Yes. Was it the dumbest? I don't think so. And had Sandra's plan gone accordingly, like JD's basically did, then it's kind of just like a fine move. So if JD had gone home, I don't think it would be the dumbest thing. It would be, I guess, a bad move, but I don't know. It's just like, I was just being technical with it. Whereas Eric,
yes, I personally don't think it'd be the dumbest move, but it would be on CBS's highlight reel of the dumbest move.
Yeah. Well, and think about it too, right? JD handled the whole thing really well from the perspective of, listen, once he was caught, you could go one of two routes. You could apologize, be open about it, show him what it is, do what he did, let him hold it. But imagine if what a lot of people would have done, oh, no, it's not, or just tried to hide it or screwed up or wasn't honest about it or lied, and made it
Brad
worse.
Probably would have taken off running in the woods.
He didn't make it worse. And then what he did was he gave Shan the opportunity to say, listen, Shan, you can vote to keep somebody who's now going to owe you, or you can vote on somebody's side who will just think you went along with what they said that they wanted to do.
And, to take it a step farther, maybe it would make more sense if JD was just like, instead of keeping my extra vote for safekeeping, just have it. Like, if you keep me, you don't have to give it back. So then she has no motivation to take him out in order to keep it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like you're extending the olive branch. Like, I apologize. Like, I wanted to keep this my secret. I didn't tell anybody else. I just wanted a thing for me. But, you got me. I feel bad. Just have it. Don't vote me out because of it. It's yours. Like, I'll be back. I'll be on your side. Then you can use the extra vote however you want.
And I think that's what happened, did it not?
I think he said, I think the agreement is that if he comes back, he gets it back.
No.
Yeah, I personally think that's a good move for her, because she doesn't want it to get out that she has it or got it from him. Yeah. That would make her a big target. Plus, by her giving it back, it's showing, okay, this relationship is completely repaired.
Agree, but I agree. But if I'm JD, like I said, I'm coming hat in hands, and I'm just going to be like, just don't even think about having to give it back to me. Just take it. Because if I'm in JD's shoes, I give it away. It's like, oh, once I prove that I'm loyal to you, can you please give it back to me? I'm immediately going to think like, oh, well, now she has a reason to blindside me. So I'm just going to be like, so even for Shan, I think it is nice of her to give it back regardless. But I'm just going to give all my ammunition to the person I trust the most.
Well, and it's an artifact of the moment of reveal, right? It's like once Shan has to take that back out and give it to him, it's almost like, oh yeah, I remember when you lied to me and I found this. Here you go, liar. But if she kept it, it's almost like it's done now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right?
That's how, like I'll take it back to when Xander comes back to camp and he tells everybody that he's won that extra vote. I think now that I don't mind the honesty in the situation, but again, I think you could take it a step farther. What I might have done is be like, look, up until we swap, I'll be like, okay, the extra vote's at tribal council. I won't use it. Once we get back to camp, I'm just going to leave it at camp, like under our tribe flag until we swap. That way you guys have no reason whatsoever to worry about me using it. It is actually for us. I'm just going to leave it here. And that's the same with JD. It's like, if you get caught with something, you can just give it away or throw it in the fire. Then it's kind of just it's just not on your hands anymore.
Interesting.
I'm checking that rock before we go every time, though. Be like, hey guys, make sure it's still there.
Yeah.
Try it together. See, it's there.
Leave like a deep piece of paper under there, and then switch it with the real one, and then bring the real one to top. But
I mean, I would probably be straight up. Like, I think I would just be very straight up with the people. I'm sorry, I fucked up. I mean, I don't. It's not. The thing is, like, I didn't get a comment when Jack said earlier, I don't need to tell my allies everything. I can keep my idol, but if you're working with me in a game, I'm never gonna use whatever idol as long as we're cool against you. So why do I have to tell you, right? Like, I don't really necessarily like, and Robbie mentioned earlier, information is currency. Jack did mention, he's like, don't give away any advantage that you potentially have. You just want to keep it to yourself. Like, I mean, if I was JD, I would not tell anyone. Like,
obviously, JD took it a step farther in the fact that he spun this whole lie about how he didn't have it, which is a little worse. Whereas if he just found it and didn't tell anyone, like, exactly what you're saying holds true. I still think what you're saying holds true.
And he could explain to Shan, be like, "Yo, Shan, I obviously didn't tell you, and I apologize. But I never used this to write your name down. We are in an alliance together, and we take other people out with 3 votes. And if it's my time to use it, you best believe I'm pulling it out for us, girl."
But I think it's Ricard, though.
I
think Ricard he's got to worry about, because if you remember back after JD came back from the walk and he got his advantage, or he was telling the story about whether or not he could risk his vote or not risk his vote, and then right away you get a Ricard confessional. It's like, I'm not buying any of that story.
Exactly.
And Ricard right away was like, I don't believe this guy, and then finds out that he was lying to me. I get it, it makes sense. Ricard would have lied too, but it's like he already was suspicious of this guy, and now he's even more suspicious, and he finds out he's lying.
To put it a weird way, it's at this point, JD's almost fine in the sense that all of his shenanigans have been like completely neutered, and he's just like a loyal, because he is a sneaky guy, but everyone's just like, okay, JD, we all know you're sneaky, like, we all have our eyes on you. So now he's kind of just like, fuck, all right, like, I can't do anything for at least a couple rounds. So you just know, like, he's just kind of a sitting duck. Which for JD now is kind of better than just being known as like a sort of sneaky guy. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you know what I'm getting at. Obviously, it's horrible for everyone to know you're like a shiesty guy. Yeah. But if it's just completely out there that everyone thinks that, then you kind of are just like, all right, my antics are just done. Like, just let me help you guys and then get to the next stage of the game.
It's better than everybody talking about him behind his back without him knowing. Right? It'd be better if nobody knew, right? Yeah. Perfect world, nobody would know how shiesty he was, or whatever the word is there. But like, if people are going to be talking about how sneaky you are and how much they don't trust you, having them at least pull a Brad and like they're telling you to your face, at least now you can adapt.
That's
right. And so you're right. I think you nailed that.
Yeah, and I think JD's issue is his perception, his overall perception, his reputation in the few days that they know him. He's sneaky. Like, if one of you guys really, I saw in your bag that there's an extra vote, and I'm working with all 4 of you. I think I have a final 3 with all 3 of you guys at some point in time, and I didn't break any of them. True story.
Or not break my crystal.
But anyway, like, I wouldn't be like as upset as Shan.
Yeah, agree. Well, she's just an emotion. I think she's.
I mean, I saw that. I get it.
Yeah, she's in the same situation that she found herself in when she was 5 years old, and her mom made her pick between her dad and her mom. Like, she's having PTSD over here.
That was just a bit of an overshare for the situation, but it was. But just like what you were saying, Stan. Like, well, I guess this sort of, like, I'm taking what you're saying and applying it to what I was saying about JD's like exposure. Yeah. Like, if I say I have an extra vote hidden in my bag, you guys go through my bag, all see it. It stays between all of you guys. Now it's kind of like, all right, JD has an extra vote. Like, let's get him out. If I find out that you guys know, then I can just be like, all right, here's my extra vote going in the fire. Here's, like, I'll dump out my bag. Here's everything I have. I don't have shit. Shan and Ricard, I'm loyal to you, and I'm voting for Brad. Like, all my cards are on the table. Yeah. Now it's like, oh, if I like JD, like he told me. That's something I don't think people do enough.
Give up power with the threat. Like,
yeah, it's hard to implement, but I would say, like, for JD at some, to really establish loyalty, like, you could just go up to Brad and be like, Brad, I'm voting for you, bro. Like, just show your alliance. Like, guys, I'm voting for Brad. Like, that's what's gonna happen. Like, cut all the games, or in like Big Brother,
or I guess it applies to Survivor too. Like, especially post merge when there's more people, just literally call out like one or two main targets. Everyone else in the game will know that they're safe with you, and then they have a reason to protect you. Now that's a risky move, but it's something that like never happens, and I think it could happen more.
Could get exploited in smaller tribes actually, because smaller tribes of 6, it's kind of difficult to navigate because instead of a traditional like 8-person tribe,
I wouldn't do it in a small tribe because that one person I call out might have like an idol or steal.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? We're seeing it right now where this shot in the dark, roll the dice is making more and more people like smaller groups of people bond together within the tribe and just keep other people out. Like look at Jeannie. Jeannie's voted wrong twice, and typically in a vote like this,
did she vote wrong this vote?
Yeah, she voted for JD again, or sorry, JD with Brad.
She's voted for 50% of the tribe now,
right? So,
so
both times that she's gone, she's not been in the know, and you'd have to assume that the reason for that is so that she didn't accidentally tip off that person to go roll the dice.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing that now where they're burning, like people are burning bridges just to keep themselves safe. But you gotta think, how is Jeannie feeling? If there's a swap right now, Jeannie would flip.
She's flipped.
Right? I didn't realize she voted wrong. That's interesting.
She voted wrong.
Yeah, I hope I'm not wrong because I'm throwing us down
no, you are 100% right. I made sure to grab that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because Brad didn't have a vote, and it was...
Oh, exactly. Because I thought that one vote was Brad's vote.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Brad didn't have a vote.
And
this shows the difference in, the decision-making process that we've been talking about. When you look at a tribe like the Yasa tribe, where even in the shady vote, like Voce is going, Xander was aware. You know what I mean? Like people, like it was relatively the same thing with Abraham, right? People knew, even though it didn't seem, and people got on the same page for the most part. But the UA tribe,
it's a mess. They're a mess.
It's like 2 or 3 really tight people, and they're just picking off the rest. But
from what it looks like is that it's Queen Sean and King Ricard on that tribe. They're calling the shots.
I don't think it's even King Ricard at this point. His edit is actually toning, like, kind of not getting as, he's very falling very beta to Shans. And
I don't analyze the edit as much as a lot of people do. I'm looking at
his visibility,
his ability to play the game. You can tell he's very aware.
He's involved in the calls, definitely, because he was the one who initially suggested to keep JD. Now I agree, like editing wise, what you're saying. I don't dig too much into it. Like his is a lot shakier than Shan's, but it's pretty obvious that they're the core right now.
They're the core.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks a lot to the fact that Shan let Ricard know everything and has really since episode 2, right? Which I think was happening in episode 1, but they just didn't show us that. But I mean, I think the whole time they've bonded over whatever they've bonded over, right?
Which would be a Ricard path to victory would be to get Sean out late.
Well, and work together and then take all the credit at the end and get Shan out. But I think what I'm getting at here is how hard would it be for somebody who's in as strong of a position as Ricard is right now, getting information given to him, to still step back, and you saw it in a confessional, say, listen, it depends where Shan wants to go. Like he's still letting people have control. He's not asserting himself too much. He's not trying to take over. He's not pulling an Abraham being like, we got to do this and here's why or whatever. Like even though he's in a great position, he's keeping it by like just letting the information. I'll give you my input. Here's what I think we should do. Let me know your decision.
Yeah, that was his strategy going into the game. And
that's underrated. That's like this is day 6.
That's a good take. I didn't see that.
I don't think Ricard. Like a lot of people had him as an early favorite, though. From what we've seen, I don't feel great about it. I think he's playing fine in his tribe right now, but I do think he's going to have issues down the line. I just think he's going to have a hard time connecting with a lot of different people in the game because he kind of has an air of just like holier than thou. An air of condescent, and he seems like a guy you could get along with, but he kind of just sits there like back straight, arms crossed, and he just looks like very approachable.
Yeah,
exactly. Like almost like.
Am I looking up at Frank right now?
Like in Yasa, right? Like when Voce was at Yasa, he the great guy, he got a good at it, but like he came off as someone who's not as like
approachable. Yeah.
Approachable.
Yeah.
The least.
So let's move into the tribal council phase. I didn't see. Did Jeff whisper to us again, or did he cut that out?
No,
I didn't see that. No.
Good.
Yeah, the Canada
so-
edit didn't show it. I don't know.
So he leads into this with like, who is the face of this tribe when it comes to sucking? Why are you guys here? Who's to blame? And JD, he steps up and he's like, I don't know how to make a layup. So what were you guys? What were your thoughts going into this tribal council?
I thought JD honestly played the tribal pretty well, given the situation he was in. He tugged on the heartstrings a little bit. Like I said earlier, he's basically just pledging allegiance to Shan and Ricard, and that's kind of what you have to do.
I thought he was
I don't think anything too crazy. I don't feel like anything too crazy happened in the tribal. They kind of just kept it kind of a gray area as to whether it would be JD or Brad, and just threw out a bunch of analogies that we're supposed to understand. And
yeah, I thought JD handled it okay for the situation he was in. He was losing me with the whole crystal analogy. Robbie said it earlier, like he's trying really hard to get footage on camera because
it's working. No, give him credit.
It's
on
working.
The show,
yeah,
and
he's on the show. So... He's getting a ton of camera time. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's a little cringy at points, but yeah. I wasn't a fan of the crystal analogy. I was kind of, if I was sitting there and you start talking about crystals, I'm going to kind of tune out. But it obviously, going into that tribal, the three of them were already a core.
Yeah.
And there was a plan. I believe they were trying to lead on to it is JD, just so Brad wouldn't play a shot in the dark and it wouldn't tip Jeannie off.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think that was already set in stone. But the fact that Jeannie was like saying, I'm confident it's not with my alliance means that they really had to blindside Brad so he wouldn't play a shot in the dark. I think they have it all thought out.
If your vote is blocked, you can't play your shot in the dark, apparently.
Oh, is that true?
Because you have to risk your vote.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that.
You don't vote to risk.
And you know what's interesting about this too is the fact that like there are two mistakes. I think I think JD started off flawlessly because he's playing the whip dog kind of like I'm sorry, you know, I'll do whatever you say, just keep me around. So when they say, okay, who's the face of the failure? Yeah, it's me. I'm sorry. But then he goes on and gives his kind of his sob story or whatever, his empathy story. But then he has to mention Malcolm and Ozzy and Wu. And I'm like, you were nailing it. It was perfect. But then you're like, oh yeah, but don't forget everybody. I'm probably gonna be really entertaining. I'm gonna be charismatic and good at physical challenges. Don't forget. And then back to the empathy and the crystals. And it's just like little things like that might not matter, but when people are debating 50-50 and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh yeah, this guy thinks he's these people.
Is he saying Wu's his hero? That way people want to take him to
it's foreshadowing. He's gonna go to the final three and get the place of his heroes second.
Yeah. I mean maybe that's it. And the other thing that you see is Jeannie in the great wisdom of this episode or lack thereof says, yeah, apparently Ricard doesn't trust me. I voted for him. It might be me that they don't trust. I'm like, why are you talking right now? Why are you saying this? Why are you outing yourself of being against that group of people? Why? Just sit quietly for a minute. And if you think that you're at risk, roll your dice. Like you're not helping yourself by saying, yeah, he obviously doesn't trust me because, you know, I voted for him. Well, like you're not helping. Right. I just thought that was a huge misplay.
I think what CBS needs to do, instead of quarantining people and making them watch past seasons, quarantine them, make them play an ORG, just so they get a grasp of this strategy. Because Jeannie, she seems so lost out there. Like she just doesn't have a clue what's happening. She's a fan of the show, I believe.
Yeah,
but
she had she's disappointing me. I was a huge Jeannie fan coming out of the gates. But you know, cream rises to the top, and unfortunately, Jeannie hasn't been rising. Her pregame interviews she kind of is like, everyone likes me, but I'm gonna blindside people and be honest about it, and blah blah blah. Like more like I was getting strategic Elaine vibes, but
you got to know what's happening in the game to blindside
Exactly.
somebody.
I don't mind. Like her and Brad were kind of a fresh presence. But obviously they need to bring those character moments. So hopefully we get that from Jeannie. I still have hope for her, but like I said, strategically, I think she'll float by. Probably will make the merge. Probably float by for not being a threat, and then it's like final 7, and everyone's like, all right, Jeannie's like, everyone really likes her. Like, let's just take her out, and that's kind of her.
Exactly.
And I think one of the hints, you try to watch for little hints and things that happen in the episode. I think one of the hints that we're actually missing a lot of Jeannie content right now. A lot of people kind of laugh at that statement, but I think we are. Was when we saw JD earlier in the episode giving his impressions and doing jokes and kind of like impersonating people. Jeannie was right there. I think she was sitting right beside JD between Ricard and
laughing,
laughing and being a part of it. And in there, where when you remember Abraham at the beginning would just walk away from the group and just kind of be off by himself, building stuff. Like that is who we thought Jeannie would be, right? The social player, buddying up to people, getting kind of into the group, maybe not necessarily knowing where the vote's going, but not the target because hey, everybody likes Jeannie.
And that might be exactly how she is on the island. And then we'll have to, I think that what's owing to her longevity in the game is the fact that we haven't really seen much of her yet. Same can be said about Heather, about Erica. Like there's these people that we haven't really seen, which makes me think that they actually go farther in the game. Because
if your name's never on the table and you're not on screen, like it's kind of a good thing. Like because at least with Blue, there's a couple names out there. Like it feels like it could be Nasir, it could be Sydney. Like now, if we had seen Blue and there weren't any names, I would be worried that the person who hasn't been shown could be an option. But yeah, right now, like you said, I think people that we haven't seen much of could be, and like you said, I think Jeannie is kind of that social. Like last Tribal, she was the one who voted, the only person who didn't vote for Sarah, other than Sarah. Ricard, JD, and Shan easily could have gone for Jeannie this round, but obviously some social element led them to going for Brad. Right. And you assume Brad is better in challenges than Jeannie. So clearly there's something going on with Jeannie that hasn't been shown, but she's doing something well.
I think people like her.
Do you not think that she's the next one to go if they are going back to Tribal?
I do. I would probably guess that.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think because of the edit that they go to Tribal next. I think
I would feel
I think you know how like Xander last episode, I told you guys, I'm like Xander, even though he's on the perceived bottom, is not going to go anywhere because Yas is not going to Tribal. That's kind of like the Xander. It's not his turn to go yet, and I think in going to the next episode, it's not Jeannie's turn to go home. I think Blue's going to go home.
I agree.
I think Blue's going to go to Tribal. And that's gonna like
because we also see in the trailer there's talk about throwing a challenge.
I think Nasir's probably gonna go, and they're gonna peg it like it's a Sydney Nasir decision. But really, I think they're gonna try to make it look like Sydney's real emotional and can't make a decision.
I think it's gonna be one of those.
Nasir. But it's gonna be a really fun episode. I think we're in for another treat as we are.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw this out here. We're talking all about these twists and the advantages and disadvantages and the backstabbing and the alliances and the rolling the dice and everything. And I have not once been concerned about the fact that this is a short season and that they're getting an easy path. And coming into this season, I thought that for whatever reason, I was going to be bothered by the fact that it's not 39 days or whatever. But honestly, if they wouldn't have told me coming into the season that it was a shorter season, I couldn't feel it. Other than the fact it says day 6 today on episode 3.
I agree. I honestly didn't think it was going to be a big issue. I thought, exactly. It hasn't really been a factor, which has been nice.
So I hope a lot of the haters out there can kind of get over that because this is really working out to be more than I thought it was going to be. I was a little worried, but no,
too much hate in the world.
Yeah, I didn't feel the 26 days when I first heard it. And then I played 5 days, and I was like, it doesn't matter the length of the game. They can make it as hard as they want. And if you lose that day of rest, I think you're burning more calories. I think it's going to be just as hard, and I think it's really delivering
in a sense, and that can create some more chaos. So yeah, there's going to be minor differences, but I think that's the least important factor in affecting the season.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
So, what I think we should wrap up here. We'll pass. We do some awards at the end of the recap. We have 3 awards for our Survivor recaps, and the first one is going to be the Top of the Food Chain Award. Probably going to be pretty unanimous, I think. But go ahead, Stan, and then we'll wrap around to see who you guys got as the top of the food chain.
I think very Kim Spradlin vibes, Shan.
Yeah, I'm really, really close to saying Evie, but I gotta say Shan.
Yeah, I think Evie's playing a great game too, but just this episode, I would also go with Shan.
Yeah, this episode, Shan was the mafia pastor, controlling all her puppets. Our second award is the Dark Horse Award. Who is your Dark Horse? I think this could be kind of all over the place.
I would go first. I can go first. I picked Danny. I don't know why I like Danny so much. I think he has a good story. He has a good chance to win. Hasn't been exploited yet.
Yeah, that's tough. Because we didn't mention it, but because of the fact at the end of the challenge, Liana looked over at Xander and said thank you when they got their flint and like totally gave him all the credit. I think there's going to be a lot more trust being put into Xander than I originally anticipated. I'm gonna throw Xander's name out.
I didn't even notice that. That's good to see, because I know just from Xander, he said originally on that tribe that he didn't really feel like Liana was giving him much of a chance. So maybe this is a turning point where she realizes the benefits that he's providing. But I'm going to shift back over to Luvu for my dark horse. Maybe this isn't really a dark horse. I know he was a bit of a preseason favorite. We haven't seen a ton from him so far, but I'm going to go with Deshaun. I think in the limited content we've had from Luvu, it seems like he's been doing everything right. If you're comparing situations, it almost seems like he's the Evie / Shan of that tribe. He just hasn't had a chance to put anything in motion, but I think come the time where he either goes to tribal or he makes it to the merge, I think he's really going to be a player to look out for. And honestly, still, he'd probably be my winner pick.
I'm going to have to go with Tiffany. I thought she was going to be first out of the game.
Wow.
I had no faith in her, but she got across the rope. She survived the tribal that I didn't think she was going to survive.
Nailed the sandbag.
I think if she can get to if she makes it a couple more tribals, they're going to take her to the end.
Can she win though? Do you think she has any? Oh.
No, I think she's someone is going to take her to the end.
Yeah.
To win.
Is that? I guess okay. That's fair enough.
That's not a dark horse. Call him out, Jack.
Dark horse.
Yeah, that's not really dark. But I mean, it's a dark horse.
But I mean, if she gets to the end with Heather, if it's a final 2 and it's her and Heather hasn't done anything.
So she
could win.
I
think she can get to the end. We'll see who wins based on the final travel.
No, I agree. I like the variety in the dark horses that I do.
Yeah. What's the third?
And the last one is Entertainment Gold.
JD.
Oh, you gotta.
That's a good one.
I mean, honestly, you gotta go JD. Like,
I'm gonna flip it over to Brad. I mean, I think him doing the Ferris Bueller thing was hilarious. Honestly, like, I hate to say, up until the challenge, I felt like he was doing a lot of things right. He played the steal a vote prisoner's dilemma quite well, and he's constantly been entertaining. So it's a shame to see him go. But like last episode, running down the beach, everything like that. I think this is kind of just a tip of the cap to Brad for what he brought to the season.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's the last time he can have a shot in awards. So Broccoli Brad definitely for the W on Entertainment Gold. But it was awesome recapping with you guys. Thank you, Jack, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Do you guys have anything coming up that you want to plug?
No, nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
So Jack and I are on Live to Give, so you guys will catch the episodes.
Yeah, we really tore it up. Yeah, no, nothing super nothing crazy for me. If you haven't seen The Circle season 2, feel free to check it out. Follow me on Instagram at Jack Atkins 21. But no, it was great being on here. I just love talking about Survivor. So you guys were great. The discussion was awesome. We got an hour
coming up in December, Jack.
What's up?
Do you have something coming up in December?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm boxing someone, but I don't really want to. You probably don't want to watch that.
Plug it. I would love to hear about who are you fighting.
I'm fighting Adam Pike from Big Brother Canada.
Oh man,
Aaron.
Oh my God.
Aaron, who was on last week, he sells life insurance policies. So I think we can hook you and Aaron up.
No, I think I'll be the middleman for Adam. We'll get Aaron over to Adam, and we'll get it all figured out.
Listen, Jack, as big of a fan as I am for you,
Yeah, well, this is why I didn't plug it.
I gotta go with the guy from Canada here. I can't help it. So I don't know. I hope you're training because this guy's.
Well, yeah, tune in. Win or lose, you might as well tune in. You know. But,
definitely.
Yeah,
it was
Frank,
a pleasure to meet another Real Foot alumni. I've heard a lot about your season. I've met a few people from it, so it was a pleasure meeting you. I'm actually more fanboying over you because you're a Real Foot player than the Circle, but I have grown to love the Circle as well. I thought you were super entertaining on that season. The makeup part, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was ballsy being a catfish. I would be scared to do it, but
it was a good experience. And I will say another plug, I guess. Got another little show in the books, so I can't say anything more than that, but stay tuned for that. So that'll be cool.
Follow him on Instagram.
Yeah. Or TikTok.
All right.
I got verified on TikTok today. That was cool.
Nice. So this weekend, if you guys, sadly you can't follow along unless you're a patron, but Aunt Jackie Productions, Mayhem Manor, 46 players, 3 days. I don't know what I signed up for. I think I bit off a little more than I could chew. This weekend.
Ooh.
And I messed up names on a tribe of 9 people. So a house of 46, there's going to be a lot of nicknames thrown out.
Yeah.
But also next Wednesday or tomorrow night, you can catch me and Robbie on The Fans Have Spoken, where we're going to dive a little deeper into this episode with 4 awesome super fans. And then we aren't going to do the challenge this week with Kylie being under the weather. Me and DeLucas, the 2 other people that recap the challenge, we're gearing up for Mayhem. So we're just going to do 2 episodes. Huh?
Pre-game.
You can't pregame with 46 people. You just can't. You just got to pour a lot of shots when you get there. And then again, next week, you can catch us here 30 minutes after Survivor for another recap. Thank you guys for joining. Until next time.
Thank you guys.
Later, guys.